Now that you have started the process of composing music and recording music inside your DAW, now we really get to get more into the music theory side, which I think is going to help in such a large way. It's going to lay the foundation for how you actually write music using your brain in an intellectual way. And then we can combine that with our artistry, with the emotional side, to actually produce quality music. For this lesson, we are talking about the 3 composing styles, and those are melodic, harmonic, and holistic. Now, chances are you've probably never thought of music in this way, because usually when we listen to music, it's a finished piece of music. Now, for example, you might remember a favorite tune from a video game or your favorite pop song or whatever. Now that would be melodic because we're thinking of a tune, something like the Super Mario Brothers theme, do 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 do, right? That's something that is a melody. It's that singable tune, but there's no harmony there. The harmony is the chords behind it. It's the structure that holds up the whole piece of music. And then, therefore, holistic is when we combine these things together. So let's jump to the piano to show you exactly what I mean. So a very famous video game tune, Zelda's Lullaby from the Legend of Zelda series, very famous tune that we all know and love. If we were to break this down into melodic, harmonic, and holistic, it would sound like this. So if we just take the melody, melodic, it's really pretty, isn't it? And by itself, that is a singable, memorable tune. And actually, in the next lesson, we're going to be talking about how to create great melodies and some rules you can follow to help you get there. And then the following lesson, we'll be talking about creating great harmonies. So we're going to explore this in pretty great detail later. But for now, just know that the singable theme, the tune, is essentially the melody. And there's some rules to help you get to that level. So then, if that's the melody, da, da, dum, da, da, dum, then the harmony must be the chords underneath. And this is why I like pianos so much, because it helps us to visually divide right hand from left hand. So in piano land, typically the right hand plays the melody with a single note. So that's a B, D, A. Super simple, right? But then obviously it elaborates, it turns into this longer tune. So the left hand then is the harmony. And what we're essentially doing over here is we're playing a C chord, which is a C, E, G. And then we're playing a D chord, which is a D, F sharp, A. We're going back and forth. So on a chord chart or sheet music, that would visually look like the letter C, capital C, to represent the C major chord. Likewise, the D chord. Now, it is a little bit more complicated than that because this is Japanese Eastern harmony, and in traditional Japanese repertoire, in the literature, it's never quite as simple as a C chord. It's actually a C major 7 chord, so it has a little bit more of a spiciness to it. And it's not exactly a D chord, it's actually a D over C. So it has a whole nother level of spiciness to it. But my point is there's a very clearly defined harmony. There is a chord structure moving as the melody plays on top. So it sounds like this. If we play just the harmony. Again, very beautiful. Less memorable though, right? Because without the melody on top, it doesn't quite have the same substance. It's a little bit harder to remember the notes because we're moving chromatically, actually, which means we're moving one note down at a time, just like that. And it's a very jazzy Japanese style. So if that's the harmony, then the holistic approach is to put them together. Melody plus harmony. That's the whole, right? And it's beautiful and we love it. So how does this apply to you? How does this apply to you writing music? Well, when we write music, it's important to try, when we can, try to approach your music from one of these three standpoints. So if I was going to write a piece of music right now, only using melodic, which, by the way, a main theme or a character theme in video games is almost always this way. It's almost always melody. That's what people care about. It's the main tune. It's the thing that we sing. It's the audience listens to when they play the game. This is usually the big one. This is why most people are attracted to video game music in the first place, because they remember some tunes from their childhood, some of their favorite games, and they're attracted to that. So this is the big one. Melodic is essentially coming up with a tune that can exist all by itself, but also could be interesting with some harmonies. So in most cases, if you're going to start with a melody, you pick a note, you try to go away from the note, and you come back to the note. And we'll later define this in the next lesson about the gravity principle, which is essentially starting somewhere, eventually going up to somewhere higher, and then coming back down. So in this case, I'm playing the note G. I went all the way up to the note D and back down to that same G note. So essentially, let's just write something that might sound good. Okay, and then in the left hand, I might play, if I'm going to write just a harmonic section first, if I want to start with harmony, then maybe I just want to start with a G chord. Usually chords, if we're doing harmony. Maybe a C chord, back down to a G, maybe to a D7 chord, back down to G. Something like that. And then if I was going to write something holistically, I'm not really thinking about harmony. I'm not thinking about melody. I'm really just combining them together at the same time. So maybe in this case, still in the key of G, maybe I start. So in that instance, you'll notice how each of these three approaches tends to compose slightly different music. I have found in my journey that if I start with a melody only, I'm going to write a very interesting melody because there's no restrictions. I can just write whatever I want. And then I'm forced to conform the harmony to that melody and where the notes are moving. Conversely, if we start with harmony first, if I do something super wacky, then now the melody has to follow suit. Right? My melody was super weird just now because I had to follow the harmony. So much of the time, if you don't want to just write a melody first, then I would advise maybe do the holistic approach, which is to write both at the exact same time. Because that way, everything is going to fit together. So guitar players have a tendency to do that more naturally because they're playing both parts at once. Piano players the same way. So regardless of which of those three you choose, I have found that it's really important to pick one of them whenever you're starting a piece of music, because then it gives you a very clear focus of what has to happen first, and then, like a domino effect, the second has to follow suit. So if you start with a melody, you now have to write a harmony to match. If you start with a harmony, you then have to write a melody to match. Or you just start by doing them all together at the same time if you have some level of proficiency playing an instrument. That makes that process way faster. So your assignment for this lesson, I would like for you to compose 8 bars of music using one of these 3 composing styles. So you either need to create an 8-bar melody, an 8-bar harmony, or holistically create something where they are combined together. But the whole purpose here is to get some experience. And I would encourage you to pick one of those 3 that you have the least experience with. Pick the one you're unfamiliar with so that you can actually practice and maybe learn a new skill today.